Well, I think we have Malachy O'Rourke on the line, the Ulster club winning now manager with Glen. Morning, Malachy. How are things?
Morning, Shane. How are you?
How are you getting on? It's I'm sure it's been a busy week. Probably half your players sound like I do, with the voice in absolute bits. It's not a bad achievement.
Yeah, no, it was great. A great achievement, and I suppose the whole thing has happened so quick as well. And the club won the first Derry championship ever in their history last year. So there's great emotion with that, and then I suppose this year to follow it up, and then so suddenly then to win Ulster as well. I suppose it's just a bit of a roller coaster at the minute, and it's something that haven't been used to for a wee while, and so no, it's been brilliant, and to see the joy on everybody's faces and how much it does for the community and that sort of thing that's what it's all about.
I think the wasn't it 2004 yourself with the Loop up in Derry winning the Ulster club, and hard to believe you went on then in the semi-final again to play Galway opposition in Caltra. It's kind of coming back around again. It's almost like the stars have aligned, playing Moy Cullen in the semi-final. So it's all a bit bizarre, I'm sure, for you.
Yeah, and does it look at it? It seems a long time ago, and yet it seems like yesterday as well. And yes, it's strange the way it turned out, and that time obviously Caltra got the better of us. And we're under no illusions this time as well, and that Moy Cullen are a seriously strong outfit, and they've had a lot of representatives on the Galway panel, and. But look, I suppose every team's in exactly the same boat. It's a great opportunity to try and get through to an All-Ireland final, and everybody will be in the same frame of mind, and I suppose we're no different.
You, I said this on the show the other day, Malachy. You won't have seen this, but I was going on about how everything you seem to touch turns to gold, no matter what team you show up with, whether they've won a county title before or not, won a provincial title before or not. There's just something in that. You seem to strike gold everywhere you go.
Yeah, I did hear that, Shane, to be honest with you, and I was thinking the Monaghan men won't let you down.
You can send me the 20 quid.
And then I started to think, do I owe him money or something? But no, look, it's just it's a matter of everywhere I've gone, I've been very lucky in many ways, in that I've inherited teams who are very hungry to achieve success. Everybody rode in behind it. Everybody got invested in it. And again, very lucky that everybody involved in the whole setup, was of the same frame of mind and have worked really hard. And look at us, it's no different in Glen at the minute. Right from the day we went in, the club have been so progressive, so ambitious. Anything we've asked, they've been more than happy to help us out with. And again, obviously Ryan Porter's with me again, and Ryan's a massive help, a massive person to have on the backroom team with his knowledge of coaching, with his knowledge of training and everything else, and with Johnny Bradley, Mickey McCullough there as well. So it's very much a combined, a collective effort. And once you get that going in any club or any team, you've always got a really good chance. But most of all, obviously, it's the players who've bought in completely, and they've done the business when it's been asked of them.
What do you do to try and get people on side early on? What's the first thing that you do when you go in somewhere? I mean, obviously, you need to know and get to know the players, but what's the first thing that you ask of them that gets them thinking, yeah, actually, you know what, we're at it here, and I'm going to commit the way I need to commit?
I suppose that you want to try and give them some sort of a vision that they can achieve if they do everything that you're asking of them. So you want to paint some sort of a picture that they feel that is worth committing themselves to and committing a lot of their lives to training and everything else. And I suppose then after that, it's just a matter of improving every aspect of preparation, of play, of training and everything else, and again, I suppose it's that togetherness more than anything. It's no team is going to win anything, if people aren't playing as a team and aren't committing to each other and all that. So it's just I suppose that's the main thing. It's just getting that togetherness and again, it has to be enjoyable as well. The boys, if they're going to spend that much time in each other's company, they certainly want to be enjoying it. They want to enjoy the environment. So I don't think it's I suppose there's no silver bullet. It's a matter of a lot of different percentages, and And then as the thing goes on, I suppose as you overcome more hurdles, you can reinforce those areas. And so, as I say, I don't think there's one thing, but it just builds momentum as time goes on.
Shane was telling me before we came on, we was doing research. You're talking there about the soft skills of like making sure that the company is good and that the people are striving to be the best they can be. But the harder skills of like the drills and the sports science. You were saying, Shane, 1989, the sports science goes back to.
Yeah, your thesis in St Mary's, Malachy.
Yeah, that's right. I was actually very lucky in that, just Jim McKeever was the lecturer at the time, the legendary Jim McKeever, and he lucky enough he asked me to get involved in this particular one, and it was looking at the VO2 max capability of players, and we did a lot of fitness testing, and Craig Mahoney, who was a sports psychologist and I suppose a performance analyst, an Australian guy who was involved with Derry, I think certainly around that time, and when they won the All Ireland, he was there. He got me involved in that, and I certainly found out a lot of information that I wouldn't have been privy to, that I wouldn't have found out only that I got involved in that. And to be honest, I was ignorant of a lot of it, but I was just blessed to be, to be able to tap into Craig's knowledge and everybody else, and there was a lot of county players at that time on the Sigerson panel, and they were all involved in doing the fitness testing. So you learn a lot from it. And look, I'm not saying that it's something that I fall back on the time, and I'd first admit that it's Ryan who takes charge of all that, the condition side of things, and he's an expert in that, and he knows exactly what's going on in that area. So I really stand and watch him a lot, But no, at that stage, it certainly was a very progressive thing to be involved in, and just thankful that I was given that opportunity.
When you're talking then about the enjoyment, if it's backed up with science, I think it brings credibility very early on. Not obviously you have credibility now with the incredible CV you've put together, but the other thing that's changed is that players' expectations have gone through the roof. I keep talking about this, but in Arthur James O'Dee's book about Limerick, there's a brilliant chapter on the academy system that they set up, and one of their ambitions was that when the kids were coming in to Limerick, the quality of coaching was so high that they'd be like, wow, this is amazing. And it turns out that like younger generations expect things to be brilliant. They have a much higher ceiling on their expectations than previous generations who would have been like, okay, this is just what we're going to do because we always did it. Now they're like questioning stuff, and they've got access to all the best stuff around the world. So you have to keep evolving and changing, I suspect.
Yeah, that's true, and just as you say, I think society has changed, and there's a lot easier access to information and all that. But I think as well, there's probably more young lads who are going on. Up here in Ulster, the McCrory Cup is very strong, so they're going through that system, and the coaching there is at a very high level, and they're being subject to that. Then they're going on to third level education, and as well the standards they're meeting there is very high. So when they do come back to clubs or into county setups, their expectations are very high, and I suppose you have to match that. I suppose that when you're asking fellas to invest as much time and to be involved in, you can understand that if they feel that this is a wee bit below standard and it's not up to the standard we expect, then they're not going to do that. The other big thing that I have noticed as well is even from 10, 15 years ago, when I started getting involved in inter-county football, the level of fitness that boys are coming into already into the club setup, is unbelievable. Whereas back then you would have had to start, I suppose, doing strength work in the gym. Now the boys are coming in, they've already done a lot of that, and really it's got to the stage where most of those players are coming in know that if they haven't already got that level, they're going to be left behind, and they don't want that to happen. So definitely the condition of players is much greater, and probably again it's maybe the way society has changed. There's a lot more of that culture of keeping yourself fit and in good shape and going to the gym and that sort of thing. So probably that all helps as well.
It's funny, it all kind of comes back to player retention as well, Malachy. Like it struck me when you were Monaghan manager, nobody was leaving the panel for travelling or for whatever else. Conor Glass, comes home 2 years ago, gives up his 4-year AFL career. So that's important as well, I guess, to have the players on board.
Yeah, it is definitely, and I suppose like every team, the hardest time to keep fellas on board is when they're not getting on, when things aren't going well for them personally and that sort of thing. But no, been very lucky, with Monaghan and obviously again with the club, and that I think the big thing there again.
Oh, just having a little bit of trouble with that line. We'll come back to that though. We'll take him off and redial him just to make sure that we can get back to it, because it's an opportunity to pick the giant brain and try and learn some stuff ourselves. So it's always great.
Yeah, unreal. Like just and I know he often credits the backroom team, and they deserve credit. Ryan Porter and Leo Dropsy McBride as well was in with Monaghan, but like just the fact that he was doing a thesis on that in '89. That's why I said it to you before the show. Is like that is ahead of the curve. Seems like, well, how many years ago? Like that's remarkable that he was thinking that far ahead. But yeah, just a remarkable footballing brain.
Okay, we've got Malachy O'Rourke back. Hopefully that the line stays still. Malachy, just to go on to compare and contrast the difference between club and county, is it different in your head in any way? Like, what apart from the demands on your time, like what are the differences?
I suppose, well, I was going to say the media attention is probably greater at county level, but although now I suppose with the split season that has changed a wee bit as well. Definitely what I've noticed is that this season, with the club season, is very long, because I know that we finished last year on the 9th, I think it was the 18th of December. And we started again in March, and that was probably the latest we could start, because Ryan wanted to make sure that the boys had at least a 4 to 6 week run in before they started playing competitive games again in the league. So, and we've gone through now again, and it's mid-December and we're still going. So it's a really long season, and I suppose that brings its challenges again. And I suppose that's where again, being able to gauge the training again. I'm just going to reference Ryan and that, and that. It's a very hard thing to do. If you start in mid-March, it's very easy, that this time of year to have players blunted, to have players who are fatigued mentally, physically, whatever way you want. So it's a skill. That's a massive skill as well. Having players still fresh, still rare to go at this time of year. And look, that's obviously a talent he's got, and it's that's very important. But there's no doubt that the season now with the club is actually longer than the inter-county season in most cases.
Yeah, a kind of law of unintended consequences. Maybe needs to be looked at a little bit to make it
well, that I know I did mention that last week, and just with the county players, I know, and it was a number of the players with ourselves, and I was just making the example of Conor Glass, and Conor has been with Derry, and started I suppose a couple of years ago. Went through a full campaign with Derry, then came into the club. We got a week or two break, came in with the club, went right through till the whatever it was, the 18th of December last year. More or less got a short break back into Derry, went right through again into July. We gave him a couple of weeks break then, and at that time came back to the club, and now he's gone on into December again, and still is going on, and then he's obviously going back into Derry. So any of the players who are playing at that level, at who have been successful at county level and club level, it is really tough on them, and I don't think he can sustain that. So it's an area that probably does have to be looked at and see in what way you can manage it to give everybody I suppose a sustainable career, and obviously that balance between playing sport at a high level and having a life as well.
Yeah, totally. And it's important that these conversations are had, because largely it feels like the split season has been a success in many different aspects, but if there are areas that it's easy to tweak, we should just continue to tweak them. And sometimes there's a reluctance when it comes to particularly the fixtures and the calendar to have conversations about it, because a lot of stuff people are very territorial over it. Can I just ask you then about your own future? I know obviously you're in the middle of a job at the moment, and that's not finished, and do you want to get back into inter-county at some point?
Look, I wouldn't say I don't, because look, to be honest with you, I love the challenge of being involved with teams at any level, and you know, when teams are invested in it and are ambitious to work hard and try to achieve things, that's where all the enjoyment comes from, you know. But and to be honest, again, I have to say I'd be really appreciative of anybody coming and asking me to get involved, you know. So I don't take that lightly for a minute. Just having said that, at the minute, I'm more than happy where I am. You know, it's a brilliant club. The boys have committed fully. They're really enjoying the journey, and I suppose at this stage, all we're focused on, as I said before, is what is maybe 3 weeks' time. Usually, you know, before an All Ireland club semi-final, it used to be that you'd maybe 6 weeks to prepare after Christmas. At this stage, we probably have 3 weeks to prepare for it. So you know, we just can't take our eyes off that. And as far as we're concerned, we've one game left in that competition. So that's all I'm thinking of at the minute, you know. But to answer your question to start, look, it's something that I wouldn't rule out, because I really enjoy being involved you know, with teams who want to be competitive.
I suppose invariably your name was linked with with different jobs, you know, Meath and Donegal perhaps when they cropped up. Clearly you were heavily involved with Glen at the time. So did it get to a conversation stage at any point with counties, or was it just you're too busy?
No, well, look, it didn't go to any major stage, and obviously I don't want, you know, always, you know, when you talk to people like that, you do in confidence. So look, I did speak to a couple of people, you know, but it didn't go any further, because I was committed to Glen, and I just felt that it to me, at this stage, and seeing where we've gone to, it's very hard to do both. And you know, I felt I wouldn't be doing justice to Glen to even say, I'd take a job and we'll finish out the year anything else. I didn't want to do that, and that has proven the case. You know, it has allowed, you know, us all to focus completely on the club and to put all our efforts into that, and just, you know, to see the rewards we got last Sunday, you know, it was brilliant. And so, you know, I think it's you know, you'd have to do one or the other, and at the minute I'm more than happy doing what I am.
I suppose from neutral perspectives, you love to see rivalries, especially in the Ulster Club Championship. But Conor Glass had an interesting chat with our own Aisling O'Reilly after the match, where he's hinting that it wasn't all sunshine and roses on the pitch between yourselves and the Kilcoo boys. Like, clearly there's a bit of a sting to that rivalry, Malachy.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I haven't been chatting Conor, obviously, you know, or sensing much, but you know, in those games, there is always, you know, there's a lot of intensity. You know, that it's tough going out there, and there's a lot of physical battles all around the field. You know, and I suppose that's what makes the game in many ways as well. The only thing, as Conor referenced, you know, there is a case sometimes of going over the line, and you never want to see that happen. I'm not suggesting anything. I don't know what happened, but look at it. It's you know, it's great. It was a really competitive game. Kilcoo have been the standard bearers for everybody this last couple of years. They're All Ireland champions. They weren't going to go down without a fight, you know, and we always knew it was going to be a tough physical battle, and that's the way it proved.
It's a bit like the NFL season, where at the end of the year you look back at the Super Bowl champions and it's glorious sunshine and hot, and at the end of the year it's absolutely freezing cold. Does that have an impact on your style of play and how it has to change depending on what the conditions are like, or is your game and you're going to play it irrespective of what the conditions are?
No, I think it does, because, you know, the way, just exactly as you're saying, Ger, you know, in the middle of summer, you know, we're training and the ball is bouncing and you know, the speed of movement and the way you're playing the game, you know, is completely different in later on the year. And you know, we often say that, you know, that we're hoping to be playing later on the year, and if we are, we have to realise that you know, the conditions are going to be completely different, and you have to modify your game to a degree. But even simple things like, you know, the way in the summertime, you're receiving the ball and you're taking it out, you know, putting your two hands out in front of you and taking the ball and moving on. Whereas in wintertime, it's about holding on to possession, making sure you get your body behind it. Every wee mistake is magnified, because if the fist pass doesn't go exactly to where you wanted to go, there's a good chance that it'll slip out of somebody's hands and that sort of thing. Even I suppose in the really colder weather, seems to be that the ball doesn't travel as far and things like that there. So no, there's no doubt you have to change your style of play a wee bit, and also just all the skills of the game and have to change a wee bit as well. So it definitely brings a different challenge.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Like you're playing two totally different games.
Yeah, and that's the thing that you wonder about as well, and certainly because the club football is, during the summertime, it's when the weather is so good, that's the time you would like to play the games. Whereas, you're going then in the dead of winter, and particularly, never mind the cold and the rain, but when it's a really windy day and it comes to nearly that the wind is such a big factor in the game, you're often wondering, look, if this game was played in the middle of summer, it could be a completely different outcome, and different players would be starring and so on. So it does have a massive impact on the way the game has been played, and maybe even on the result of it. But look at this, I suppose just the club players realise that if you want to be successful and you want to have a good run, there's a good chance you will be playing into winter, and you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, to go back to that enjoyment piece and tie it all together, the game certainly seems over recent years to be less defensive than it was for a period of time. After Donegal came and did what they did, but like they weren't the ones who invented that. There was like lots of teams who had been doing it. They just took it, they perfected it. That might be the correct way of phrasing that. Are you finding that the players are also demanding that the game plan is creative and allows the best players to do it, or are they happy enough to go, well, at certain stages of the tournament, especially the one you're in now, it's really about winning at this point?
I think really, yeah, that is the way at most levels. I certainly have never in my experience really had players come and saying, look, we want to be really expansive here, we want to play a certain style of football. Every team, I suppose, looks at exactly what they have, and then they try to set up accordingly to play to your strengths. It's a wider debate, I suppose. But the game last Sunday it finished up a low scoring enough game. But anybody who I've talked to who was at the game thought it was a really brilliant game. There was so much going on. It was so intense. There was so many good skills and good passes to play in it, a more expansive game, and a different type of game might end up, 320 to 318. But is that going to be more entertaining? So it's I suppose it's that question whether you're looking at a more entertaining game or are you looking at a competitive game, and I suppose that's a question for another day. But it's hard to know. I suppose it's different people have different views on it.
Malachy, great stuff. Congratulations on a great season so far, and long may it continue.
Thanks very much, Ger.
Enjoy the Christmas. Thanks a million.
Lovely. Thanks.
It's Malachy O'Rourke there. Really fascinating insight into like any county who doesn't ring Malachy O'Rourke and say, are you interested? What would it be? You're not doing your due diligence properly.
Yeah, it's interesting the point he makes about the club roles being kind of not anonymous, but definitely quieter in the media previously. But because of the split season, there is a pressure on club managers now. Like the likes of Glen are so in focus. So in terms of avoiding the limelight, you're not really doing it by staying in club. So he'll be back in inter-county management at some point. Whichever county gets him will be lucky to have him.
Yeah, there's a few obvious contenders, right?
I mean, Jesus, as long as he doesn't go to Tyrone.
Well, I was going to say, that's the...
Please don't.
That would make the most sense.
Yeah. Well,
obviously, the two lads need to decide that they've had enough. But
true, he is living in Tyrone, so that's another one.